That. What's your favorite number?
12.
12? That's a good one. That's a good one.
Staubach.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Texas Bullpen Podcast. We have Acting Comptroller Kelly Hancock joining us today to talk about all things finance, numbers, everything like that. What's your favorite number?
12.
12? That's a good one. That's a good one.
Staubach.
Yeah. You're also on the campaign trail right now, crisscrossing the state, so thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. But why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, some of your background. Obviously, you used to be a former state senator, but how'd you get involved in this whole thing?
We had a child, so married my high school sweetheart. I actually went to kindergarten with her. She was a 4-year-old, cute, but a 4-year-old. And so we went to, started dating in high school my senior year, her junior year. Went off to Baylor, dated the whole time. So we ended up dating like 6 years. Got married after college. Had 3 kids. They'll have number 7, number 8. Number 7 in March and number 8 in August. So they're all up in the Tarrant County area and close, and really close knit family. So, but when we had Chloe, our oldest, I ended up running for school board after that. And of course, up until now, in Texas, you pretty much had to go to school wherever you lived. And so the school district I thought could be better. And I'm very proactive. I'm a very results-oriented kind of guy, and proactive and not a big complainer. I just like to get in and get things done. And so I ran for school board when I was young. Crazy. I was probably 28, 29 years old. Ended up doing that for like 13 years. And so don't ever be afraid to run for office when you're young. And it was competitive. I mean, I ran against a guy that was a strong businessman, and we just outworked him, which is what I like to do, is work. Was successful there, did it for 13 years, and God kind of got me to a point, and us to the point that I felt like I'd done it long enough and needed to move over and let somebody else get the experiences I had. I loved it, great relationships, and about the time that I had mentally gotten where it was time to go do something else, a lot of the local leaders, there was an open house seat. They ended up asking me to run for that house seat. And so there were 5 people running in that race. I ran against the chair of the Tarrant County Republican Party, endorsed by Governor Perry and Attorney General Abbott at the time, and then we got 52% of the vote.
Wow. And
won that house seat without a runoff. And so was there for 6 years. I love policy, as just always have. And so I ran the policy committee for the Republican Party and was loving it. But then it was redistricting, and they were drawing maps. And there was this senator at the time named Wendy Davis, who was up in our neck of the woods. We actually went to high school together.
Really?
Yeah, she was a year ahead of me in high school. And Governor Perry, in redistricting maps, I'm taking care of policy and everything. And actually, Ken Paxton was my desk mate. And he's looking at the Senate maps because he's wanting to move. And I'm just content kind of wherever I am. So he goes, hey, they drew you a map, and sure enough, I got a call later that day to go see Governor Perry. He asked me to run for the Senate. Ended up running for the Senate against another Republican House member who had been in the legislature for like 14 years, a guy named Todd Smith. And I think everybody down here thought that'd be a close race, and we ended up winning that one 60-40. So 65-35, actually.
Wow.
Won it by 30 points. So I was in the Senate for 13 years and doing fine. Got to, was on finance for 10 years and legislative budget board appointed by a lieutenant governor. Chaired business and commerce for 5 years, was chair of veteran affairs and border security when President Trump came to put up the first part of the border wall, and Governor Abbott asked me to join them on doing that. And then all of a sudden, Glenn Hager gets called to be chancellor of Texas A&M. And I get a call from the governor, and he says, hey, is this something you want to do? Is this something you would like to do? And can you do it? I mean, I'm a business owner. I own my own business. I've done that for 20 years. And so
what type of business is that?
I'm in the chemical distribution business. And so I worked for a large corporation. I was over 5 of their business units until 2004, and then I left literally with nothing. I turned in my car and was unemployed and had to go buy a truck in order to start the business. And so Yeah, we started with nothing, a laptop, and I would make sales calls all during the day and deliver out of the back of our truck, and just kind of built it up over the years. And now we're in 8 states, and yeah, it's going. It's different. I mean, chemical distribution isn't politically sexy, but it pays the bills, and God's blessed us with it.
We love paying bills, don't we?
Yeah, it helps.
So tell us more about that conversation with Governor Adler. Like, what was your initial reaction to that? I mean, did you say yes immediately? What was your thought process at that time?
So, and that actually goes back to school board. I served with a preacher, a guy named Reverend Calvin White, Church of Christ pastor, a small church. And I remember Calvin used to always say, on big issues, he would always say, "Let me sleep on it," and every time. And so, it was a big change, and so both of us wanted to spend some time on it, and we talked early on, and it was, and my wife and I talked about it because we were in a position that it just seemed like God had lined things up. I'd bought my partner out 7 years ago. My last payment was July. Which was when he wanted me to take over, which meant the company was debt-free. And then we are naturally very, very conservative financially. I suffered with a rare kidney disease for 30 years, and so I really couldn't get life insurance. So we lived conservatively so that if something happened to me, which we never knew would happen, that I wouldn't leave a bunch of debt to my wife and the kids. And so we were debt-free on doing that. And so we're in a position that financially we could do it. I'd hired a bunch of young guys, mostly from Texas A&M, and I'm very hands-on. Comptroller's office is figuring that out, and very business focused, which they're figuring out too. But I knew I needed to kind of get out of the way for my younger guys to take leadership in the business. And so we'd planned on maybe spending some time away and empowering them to actually lead the business. And of course, then this opportunity came up. So everything had lined up that it seemed like an indicator. And from day one in running for office, when I've always been asked to run for the next position, we've always gone to Ephesians 5:15 and 16, which is that we're to be as the wise, not as the unwise, making the most of every opportunity. And so rather than trying to make things happen, which we often do as humans, I try to be more looking for opportunities that God may present. And when the governor calls you and says, "Hey, you want to run? would you come run the comptroller's office? And if you'll run for it, I'm going to help you. I'm going to back you. I'm going to endorse you." And so, that's kind of the path we went down.
Interesting. And obviously, you probably went into it with a pretty good understanding of what all the comptroller's office does, given your time in the legislature and everything like that. But maybe for people who think it's just like counting numbers on a book, what are all the things that now you're starting to handle as the acting comptroller? Yeah,
a huge advantage being on finance for 10 years and the legislative budget board, because I did work with them. And Glenn and I were good friends. And so, I am the one candidate that's actually put a budget together and have the resume that the others don't, and know how to work with the legislature really well. So it is the chief financial officer, and as you pointed out earlier, the main thing we do is revenue estimates, which is vitally important. It tells the legislature how much money they have to spend. But all contracts, all procurements, which early on we leveled the playing field there. We got rid of the DEI-based race and gender qualifications that were there, and treat all Texans equally by eliminating DEI literally within the first few months I was there. So,
and those were the hub programs, right?
Yes, the historically underutilized business. And literally it lists several races, not all races, and then gender-based. And then it was economically disadvantaged, but there was no criteria for that. It was just checking a box. And, what we want to do with taxpayer dollars is make sure we get the best value on that dollar and not have it race-based or gender-based. So we just want to abide by the Constitution. And, the court cases, and then Attorney General Ken Paxton's opinion that he put out regarding DEI programs across the state validated that decision I made early on. And so...
because prior to that, your decision on that, if the state was going to enter into a contract or get a service, they would have to offer it to historically under? How did the program work before?
So the program offered basically guidance, and if you fit this race, I mean, it was very race and gender based. Fit this race and gender, we were going to help you navigate the process of doing business with government. And so what we did is turn that focus, instead of having that DEI-based, race-based criteria, we moved it to a veterans-based. And so disabled veterans, and there's 150,000 veteran businesses in the state, that we want to help veterans, which is not gender-based, it's not race-based, it's veteran-based, learn how to do business and navigate the process of doing business with the state.
And you've handled some other pretty big rollouts, and because I mean, when did you step in to the comptroller's office for the first time?
So I resigned the Senate on June 18th. June 19th, I was sworn in. Officially July 1, but the office was vacated on the 19th. We really started before July.
So if you got the better part of a year under your belt now, and you've done the DEI changes, you also just had the huge school choice rollout.
Right.
So,
which had some issues.
Tell us about them. How did that work?
Yeah, so that had some issues. So obviously, I've been a huge proponent of school choice, even on the school board. I just like competition. I think it makes us all better. And I think parents should have freedom. Nobody knows the education of a child better than the parent. But we began doing some research, and what we found in our research is that there were entities that had direct connections to the Chinese Communist Party, and that there were entities that by different names, same street address. So we had to do some digging and undercover work just to find, before we launched this, I wanted to make sure the main job as the chief financial officer is protecting taxpayer dollars. And so we did our own research, and we uncovered some things that seemed to conflict with existing law and Governor Abbott's recognition of what were terrorist organizations or entities that supported terrorist organizations. When we uncovered that, they were mostly within one accreditation agency, so we held back on that, anybody in that accreditation agency, let all the other schools in, but to protect taxpayer dollars from foreign adversaries or terrorist organizations or those that supported terrorist organization, we had to process those one at a time and process them that way with our own criteria that we went through. So we felt like safeguarding that was extremely important for our job. And with the backing of Attorney General's office, they would defend us in that position and agreed with the position we took. And I think that's what Texans want us to do.
Yeah. Now, you've obviously mentioned you were decimates with Paxton and on the hub program, shift to the veterans, and then the school choice thing you've brought up, you working with the Attorney General. What's that relationship like?
Yeah, we've talked several times, probably half a dozen times since taking the office. Obviously, you've got to work. You're chief financial officer. You work with everybody in there, in the office, and yeah, it's gone well. I mean, we've talked, we've chatted several times since being in office.
Gotcha. Now, another one of the things that the comptroller's office handles is the Texas Bullion Depository. Yep. Explain what that is, and you've made some pretty recent announcements on that sound kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. In fact, I was over there today. So the Bullion Depository is where we as a state, just like they have in New York, but why send it to New York and Texas? In fact, right here in Leander, we have safeguard and protections where you can send your gold, and we'll safeguard that for you. And then we're in the middle of writing rules where you can actually utilize that gold as a form of currency. We've got to finish those rules on that. But what's been really cool is we have now for collectors gold coins and silver coins, and literally they look like paper $20 and $100 and $50, but it's actually sheets of gold. with the Alamo or a Longhorn on them, and very, very, very cool.
Those are called the redbacks, right?
Yeah. It's.
Did you bring any today?
I didn't bring any today. I had them just a
man.
second ago. I do have pictures that I can share with you. But yeah, it's very, very cool to launch that. I think they're going to be hugely popular. Other states, again, Texas is leading on this issue, and to be one that actually has my signature on those things is unbelievably cool. And so I'm purchasing some for my grandkids as collector's items for them. But yeah, there's just great things going in our office, and obviously very conservative things that I think Texans want us to do, and we're leading in so many areas out of the comptroller's office.
Now, one more question about the depository. And I know you probably can't go into super big details because it's ongoing litigation, but the comptroller's office has been sued by Texas Precious Metals, saying that the issuing of the coins and the redbacks, however cool they might be, is beyond the statutory authority that the legislature gave to the repository initially. Now, you were in the legislature, so if, taking off comptroller hat and putting back on legislature hat. Is that something that you were worried about with the depository, or is that within kind of what the legislature intended for the depository to be doing?
Yeah, it's litigation, and so we've got to be careful with it. You've got to take that business mindset anytime you have litigation going on, but we're going to be fine and moving forward with it. We get those. Offers all the time. Exactly.
How many days are in the week?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the latest is we're not supposed to use the outline of the state of Texas.
Can you copyright Texas?
I'm not sure how that's going to go. So
Are you going to switch to the old borders? Maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I guess we have to switch. Maybe use Louisiana, but yeah. So yes, we get those threats all the time, and I think that's where you take a business mindset, and I'm not afraid to make decisions.
Nice. Now, obviously, in addition to running the agency, you're also running for office to keep the title of comptroller. How is that going? I know there was some polling that came out today that had you running behind Craddock and Don Huffines, but is that y'all's read on it? I mean, how do you feel about the race?
Yeah, I think we feel very good about the race. I mean, we are exactly where we want to be. I think there's some issues in that polling that you look at. For example, I served in the legislature for 20 years, and we know when I first came out that my name ID was only at 9%, and yet you got somebody that's never run for office ever that they're showing at 25%. And some things in it just obviously don't make sense. We know where we're at. We have a good business plan and a strategy. It's a strategy we work with the governor on, and we're exactly where we want to be in order to be successful in March and get ready for November. So we're excited about it, and I'm going to be spending a great deal of time with the governor from here on out, starting early voting. So we're in a great spot. We're the only one that's not moving backwards, and so we have momentum, and we're going to keep the momentum going.
Feel confident about making it to a runoff?
Well, we'll see what happens on the runoff.
Because you've never had a runoff, right?
I've never had a runoff. I'd hate to start that now.
And this is your first time running for statewide office, but I'm sure you've traveled across Texas a lot in your time.
Multiple times already in the last 6 months.
We've been asking people who've been out campaigning, where's been your favorite food that you've had on
by
campaign?
far, easy. And you have to be careful. Rio Grande Valley, best tacos in the world, and their receptions, literally, I went down there for a reception that they're putting together for me, and then Senator Adam Hinojosa put on a dinner after the reception. The reception ended up being a 4-course meal, and then we had a 3-course meal for dinner after that. So I'm limiting my trips to the valley just because otherwise I'd put on weight. But great food. Yeah, great food.
That's awesome. Any specific place in the Valley, or just generally like across the board?
No, they'd have to pay me for a commercial if I named a specific place. Maybe a campaign contribution.
Business
maybe a swap.
mindset
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
So you mentioned earlier you're the only one in the race that has actually put together a Texas state budget. What are some of the other distinctions that you would draw between yourself and Christy Craddock and Don Huffines?
Well, look what we've done in 6 months. I mean, they can talk about what they're wanting to do. I mean, one's been in office for a long time, and the other lost an office. But, I mean, we've been successful. We have gotten rid of a DEI-based program. You know, we've launched the largest school choice program in the nation flawlessly in protecting taxpayer dollars from going to terrorist organizations.
What's that number up to on the school choice now? Last I saw it was over 60,000.
Oh, you're several days late. Yeah, yesterday we were over 85. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're gonna set a record. In fact, Texas is in launching this in our very first year. We very clearly will be the third largest state to offer education freedom in the nation, which is and think about that. I mean, we started that. The legislation didn't go into effect until September 1, and we launched that thing just like starting a business from day one, which you have to run at business speed to get done. And there's not been negative news stories on it. I mean, those that don't like the fact that we don't let money go to terrorist organizations may not like. That may be a bad news story to some people, but I'll stand by that decision forever. And so we've successfully done that. And then when, I've gone from being on the border literally with Governor Abbott and President Trump with the border wall going up to now and funding Operation Lone Star with billions of taxpayer dollars of Texans, now getting that money back for Texans, working with the Trump administration on doing that, offering loans, grants for ICE and law enforcement to work jointly together following legislation that I helped pass and co-authored. So there is no one with a track record with the results. And so, yeah, they've got a lot of rhetoric, but I can have hard results that I can point to literally within the last 6 months.
What are some of the things you're still looking forward to doing at the office? What's kind of next on your agenda?
Look, it's still a government agency. I mean, it just is. And there are, I got a phone call today about how, an audit hearing has taken too long. We've started the process of moving at business pace and business speed. We've got to continue to do that and goals and objectives. One of the things that my cohorts in the agency asked me is, well, is anything going to change? And I've told them, yeah, we're going to change every day. Every day we're going to get better. And so we're going to be faster. We're going to be more nimble. We're going to provide more friendly customer service. We want to improve the agency just like in business you're trying to improve each and every day. We're going to be more transparent. We've already done that on our website where you can see how the state's doing on any given day. You can see what the population's doing on any given day. What's the rig count? And so we're still going to implement business principles within the agency. We're going to work with Texas DOJ, which I've been appointed to trim government to make sure it's the most efficient and effective government in the nation.
What has been, I guess, your biggest takeaway from being out on the campaign trail? Like, obviously, a lot of the attention and air in the room is people focusing on the Senate race or some of these other races. But, like, when you're out there talking to the Texans and explaining to them, like, why they should vote for you for comptroller, what is the reaction? Do you feel like people know what's going on? How do they connect and relate to, what maybe a lot of people see as just the accountant,
So, from day one I've run, and, we look at polls and everything else. I've always run for office with, I just have to be me. And if the voters like someone that's real, that's normal, that's genuine, and when they meet them, they know they met them. If you know what I mean. It's not the case in every politician.
Yeah. And
so that's what I've liked. We're from East Texas, and I go out there. I've got connections everywhere. Our business has covered all, and I've, as a salesman, called on pretty much all of the state of Texas. But just to walk in a room and just be a normal guy, and yet I'm running for office, I think that's not normal in politics. And so we connect regardless of where we're at. We connect very well. We win voters over. The difficulty in 31 million people and growing is getting to know everybody. And so what I've tried to do from day one is just be very transparent and be who I am and know that, I'm a guy that lives his life Christ-centered. That's the foundation for me. I lead a Bible study, and I have for 28 years. I do it online with 24 other guys from literally around the world. And so just to be candid and honest, let people know who I am, what's important to me, and let them decide how they want to vote.
What's the campaign trail look like for you for this next week? Where are you heading off to?
We're busy. I'm waiting for the governor to tell me. So, when early voting
soon.
Yeah, exactly, coming soon. I think those numbers, the information's going to be coming, but he's asked that I would join him for Get Out the Vote. So we'll be traveling all over the state. So I'm sure I won't get much sleep. I'm not sure how that's going to work because I'm normally a guy that gets up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I know the governor's a late night guy because he's called me at 11 o'clock. In fact, just a few days ago. So we'll see how that works out. I may have to adjust my schedule.
Yeah, Brad's an early morning guy, and I'm the late night owl, and he's always complaining about waking up to all of my late night ramblings of things that finally click at
I'm
midnight.
At least you're not calling him at 11 o'clock.
I've tried to occasionally. I will, but I've tried to reduce that. But I also am not the governor, so he probably won't answer.
My guess is I'll adjust my schedule.
Yeah, I'm sure getting up early helps with the government agency side, but staying up late helps with being out there.
Yeah, your work late night probably helps. I get a lot done early in the morning. Get my Bible study done, ready to get to work, get the right mindset.
Oh, that's admirable. I don't know how people do it. Do you drink coffee, or are you a big?
So because of my kidney disease, and now since I had a transplant, I can't. So I haven't had caffeine in years.
Oh my
which
gosh!
Is crazy.
So you just wake up early for the love of the game.
I'm just a high energy guy.
Wow, that's radically impressive. But is there anything else you want to add that kind of you've been thinking about, both about the comptroller or just like, I guess maybe the state of Texas and Texas politics? We're obviously going through such an interesting time. The cycle has a lot of things to watch at. So as somebody who's kind of been in the process for so long, where do you feel about where Texas is right now?
So, I've stayed true. I mean, I'm a core function of government guy. I'm a limited government guy. I'd like to get government out of the way, which is why I'm glad I'm on Texas Doge. I believe in people. I believe in markets, and we have a good thing going, and I get to see that every day in the comptroller's office. We've got a great start to 2026. Sales tax numbers went up. They've been around 5.5. January 7.1. All the signs are 2026 is going to be good. My concern is government can screw that up, and so I'm still a core function of government guy, and I'm still a limited government guy, and I don't see any reason to change that.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of being a markets guy. How do you feel about like Trump administration's stance on tariffs? Is that something that you're worried about? Do you support the tariffs, or are you kind of where are you on that?
Look, I understand that President Trump's a businessman. Yeah. I can relate to that, and I respect his negotiating skills, and I recognize. And he's been successful. I mean, he's conquered many negotiations. The thing in negotiations, government always blinks. Businessmen don't blink when they're negotiating. And President Trump, he doesn't blink. I don't blink. And so I'm hanging with him. I think we're going to see good results and good goals. And I think we're already seeing some signs of that in 2026 of the negotiations that he's done. And so I trust his business principles, and I continue to stand by him.
Tell us about a time when you were negotiating in business where you didn't blank, since you brought that up? I feel like that might be a fun story. Do you have any good ones?
In the business world, you negotiate every day, and even in the comptroller's office. I mean, literally, every week I'm having to make decisions. In the business world, we would literally pursue the most difficult customer, and people would just say it's not worth it. We're not making much money with this guy. He takes, but I'm like, look, if we can please him, if we can make him happy, then I know we're taking care of the other customers. And so that's the type of customer service attitude, mentality we're bringing to the office. It is why I think School Choice has launched so successfully, is we treated it like a business. We treated you like the customer, and that we wanted you to have a good experience. We wanted to see how fast you could register. We wanted to make sure that that we had a chat, that you could ask questions just like a business. The website, when they first brought it to me, it looked like a government website. And I'm like, look, it's too cluttered. This needs to look like a business website. Make it customer friendly. And so we adjusted it. And so, literally in this office, one of the things I like is making the difficult decisions. I've walked out of the office before on the hardest of days where you have, and I've often described it of a mental Rubik's Cube, that you're given a problem like School Choice, and schools are out there that are friendly to terrorist organizations and friendly to Communist Party, and yet the statute says you shall provide them funding if they have 2 years and accreditation, and fixing that. Those are the days that give me, when we solve those issues, that's when I walk out pumped up about my job.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to add at all that we maybe haven't touched on?
I think we've touched on a lot, but our office still does a lot more. You should come over, and you got to come see the gold. I mean, it's cool. I'm telling you.
Say less, honestly. You got to come see the gold. Yes, sir.
It's cool.
I'm there now. Have you ever been to Fort Knox? How does it compare?
I have not been to Fort Knox, but I have toured the Bullion Depository, and it's very, very, very safe. In there, it's got the floor is as deep as like a runway at DFW. I mean, it's a very protected area to safeguard it. And one of the crazy things is we have we have $10 billion of unclaimed property. And
I saw your post on that, and I hopped on, and I did it, and I had like $100 of unclaimed property.
Yeah, my son had an apartment that when he was in school. Well, his down payment for the apartment when he was in school, especially people out of school ought to check, because you're moving around so much that if you had a deposit and they tried to get back and they couldn't find you, that comes to us as a state. So it may not be much, but it doesn't take you.
It's something, yeah.
It's something. And so do it. Yeah, my dad passed away 2 years ago, and I mean, he had like $150 here, $250 there, and
I was
crazy.
I was just.
But we got to work on that. It needs to be more customer friendly.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty easy to go on, but I haven't completed the process.
Yeah. Well, you should be able to complete it at one sitting. So we're going to work on that.
Okay. See,
make it better.
Already. Yeah. That's making adjustments.
There's plenty of work left there to do. That's why I'm running again. We got a lot of improvements we can make in the agency.
Improvements to make in government? No.
Yeah. But customer friendly.
So I'll definitely take you up on the offer to come out and see the gold. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
The quote paper ones are really cool because it's just really thin sheets of gold with the Alamo on it.
Can you feel the weight difference in between?
Well, they're larger. So
really?
The 20 and the 50 and the 100 are different sizes. So the sheet is the same because it's really thin, but it's larger. And the silver and the gold are both 1 ounce, and so they're different sizes too. So it's all based on size because the sheets are all the same thickness.
Gotcha.
And the coins are anyway.
That's awesome.
Kind of fun.
Well, thank you so much. We hope you travel safe on the road, and I'm sure we'll see you out there on the campaign trail. But thanks for taking time out of your day to come and talk.
Yep. We'll see you again in March.
Yes, sir.